Hi, babe.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing good.
You ready to record?
I am. Are you?
I am ready to have some fun.
Yeah.
So, we've got a little recap of what we've been doing. Why don't you
hmm
start us out?
Well, we finished 5 basketball schedules that went over winter, right?
We did that.
So that was, several practices a week up into the 10, 11, 12 practices a
Yep.
week. And one of our bigs started driving, so that's been really helpful. And then the other one is going to start driving at the end of this month. But so go into all the practices and then games throughout the week and on the
We
weekend.
spent many nights apart.
We're 2 ships in the night.
We did.
And so that finished up, I guess, February, March. Cash continued into a basketball schedule for spring. And then 2 of our daughters went right into track.
Which is a first for us.
Yes.
Not really a first. We've had Lily, but a first to have more than
Yeah.
one in it, and
They love it.
they do.
It's really neat to see Cash excited about basketball because he doesn't get excited about much. And then to see the 2 girls have their little hearts on fire they both do high jump.
They're not blood kin, but they're both really good high jumpers.
And
It's very
they
odd.
love each other.
Very much.
They love talking about it. We found them the other day sitting nose to nose in the dark in the living room the other day. Jay ran and got me so I could go see. They're so darling. And
Very loud.
if any of y'all know how to high jump, we would love to hear from you. We have some help, but not much.
Yep, needing a little assistance, a little
We
guidance.
need
We
some
know
help.
nothing about it. We can kind of help on the basketball end, but not that one.
We could YouTube.
We could for sure. So, farm-wise,
Yeah.
as Cody would want me to
No,
say,
farming wise.
farming-wise.
I need you to put that on a t-shirt.
Sorry, Cody.
Hi, Cody.
We just finished planting last night. Soybeans.
I know.
Finished corn about 2 weeks ago, and it's been really cold here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot drier than normal until we got started planting, and then we kind of went to our normal wet. But it's been a different season for sure. But
Right.
we're excited about this year, and the crops look good so far, and we're probably 45 days out from wheat harvest.
Yeah, and you even got your test plots in.
Got the test plots in, finished that yesterday too.
Good. I bet
excited
that
about
feels good, huh?
It has. It's been a different year for us to have
Yeah.
a dry fall, and something that we haven't endured in a while to be dry enough. We were worried about watering cows and stuff like that. When with the last 3 years, we've just had mud everywhere. So it's been a big change.
Yeah, and so we have some test plots that we run, but then we have some test plots that they actually come in.
They come plant them themselves, but they're planting like 250 new varieties and different germplasm and stuff, where we're just doing the varieties that we use and testing some new stuff.
So when we have all the local farmers out, do we stand in the test plot that we've planted or that they've planted?
One that we've planted.
The one that we've planted. I wanted to ask you that.
Yep. So we have guys out in July to see what the corn looks like and the different varieties and different things we've done and tested. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, good.
So, babe, your best friend.
We found each other in such a different season, and who knew what the Lord had in store for us,
So Cam's been on our show before. She's from Durango, and she's had some difficult times here of late, and I'll let you tell about that.
Yeah, we didn't even ask her if we could. I guess we could call her.
Yeah, we might want to put her on the phone here.
You call her. So Farmer Dolls on Instagram and Facebook. That's my best friend Cam. You guys have heard us talk about her, and she was one of our most recent episodes back in October. I want to say right before we had Luke. Cam was in town, and she agreed to record an episode. And going back further, when we became wonderful friends, it was probably in August or September, and the first time we could finally meet up with each other because we bonded over rodeo fashion. So I think I put something on there about NFR, and she said, "You do the rodeo fashion?" I said, "Yeah," and she did too, and we didn't really know anyone else. I was kind of by myself and watching kind of the bigger accounts, and taken their lead, but I didn't have somebody that I could talk to. And so that's essentially what we bonded over.
Right.
So we met her in Vegas for the first time. And when she walked up, I noticed she had a scab, pretty dark scab on her nose. It was my first impression of her. And I said, "What happened?" And she said, "I was welding with Jack and a spark flew onto my face." So that was our first encounter. And then you cut to, I don't know, 3, 4 years later.
Probably so.
She goes in and it just wasn't healing the way it needed to. So she finally tried to get an appointment and it was like 6 months out. So she did wait a long time, but then the appointment was even longer. They took a biopsy of the spot on her nose, and the nose was not cancer, but there were 2 spots on her cheek that you would have never. There wasn't anything there to say, go check this out.
Yeah.
Just that spot on her nose, and so she just sees all glory to the Lord that if that wouldn't have happened, that it, essentially the welding incident saved her life. And she's ready to tell the whole world that. And Jay and I have a front row seat.
Yeah, and they are. They're completely unrelated. Originally, I thought they were related, but
Yeah.
that led her to find the cancer from the
Right.
welding deal.
Yeah, when the biopsies came back, the spot on her nose was negative, and then the 2 spots on her cheek were what they were more concerned about. So they went in and did the Mohs, and when they went in to get clear margins, they did unfortunately have to take some of her nose. So there will be several more surgeries because of how that original one went. She's got 2 surgeries down. She has 2 more to go. And I'm kind of fidgeting over my words because there's 1,000 other words I could say because so much has happened in the past month. But that's for sure her story, and so I don't want to tell all of it because I know eventually she will. I bet you will even have her back on here.
Probably so.
Yeah, and but to say, when I met her, I just always kept saying, 1, where have you been all my life? And 2, why do you not have to inform someone of the changes? Like, why in the world would you have an opening for a best friend? Because once you get this age, you just kind of feel like everyone is taken. And I would just felt so honored, that. And usually when I meet people, I usually love them more than the love that's being returned. And I've never felt that way with her. And just to watch her, she was a little apprehensive. She's an introvert, and I'm an extrovert. And as soon as she walked into this, she wasn't sure she was going to share her story. And if she did share her story, she wasn't going to show her face. And she had a lot of sleepless nights after that first surgery. And she just felt like the Lord was saying, I want you to tell all of it and show all of it. And she was so obedient to do that. And so she threw a post on Instagram and on TikTok. And TikTok immediately took it down and said she had violated the guidelines for it being violent and graphic. And I told her, just appeal it. It'll be fine. They'll put it right back up. And she appealed it, and they said, do not do that again. If you do, we're going to take your account. Meanwhile, she says, Instagram said, hold my beer and watch this. No. Because over at Instagram, they didn't not only not take it down, they have, as of a few minutes ago, I looked, they've shown it to 66 million folks. And I want to say when she put that post on Instagram, she was at 20,000 followers, and she's at about 107 right now.
That's amazing.
So she has a new song to sing, and she's ready to belt it out.
And it's been amazing, the feedback that she's had.
Yeah.
And all the positive stuff and all the people that have gone to get tested for skin cancer and said, hey, I've got this. And I'm gonna go get it looked at. So it was really a move in the right direction.
She's incredible. We're so proud of her. We could talk about her for the entire show. I could just talk about her the whole show. But when we went to, she came in to go to the American right before her first surgery. She just wanted to have a nice weekend. And Caleb Schmidt, am I saying that right? Schmidt or Smith? Do you remember which event he does?
Calf roper, I think.
I think so. Anyways, he won his event. He was so incredible. He has a story to tell also. An incredibly powerful story. And he got up there on that Jumbotron as they interviewed him. And he said, I told God if he would give me a stage, I would tell everyone about him. And that's what I'm reminded of every day as I watch Cam sing her praise to the Lord in front of millions. Yeah, so just an inspiration. We have a buddy, Trevor Bells, and he just keeps saying, this whole social media thing is about your face and your appearance and your selfies and the way you look, and anybody could have taken this as such a hit and gotten taken down. And not Cam. Cam's ready to show little girls all around agriculture that this is not something that's worthy of taking us out. We can still plow through this with strength and beauty, and it's just been something.
It really has. Yeah, she's an amazing individual. I talked to her this morning, and she was on cloud nine.
Yeah.
About everything that's going on, and not even the social media piece, just more of how her surgery went and how she's feeling about all of it and everything. But she was super upbeat this morning.
Yeah, I wanted you to call her because she got really great news last night, and I didn't want to be the one to tell you. She's posted this information on her Instagram, so I won't have to ask her about it. I don't have to ask her about nothing. She in charge of me. But yes, I do. But no, the one thing she did not want this entire process is something called the flap, and they were going to take a piece of her forehead skin, slice it, flip it down, and attach it to her nose so that they could create a new nostril, and the flap from her forehead would create the blood flow. We've learned so much about plastic surgery, haven't we? So anyway, she got news last night, praise the Lord, that they're not going to have to do that. And that's the one thing the whole time she's been against. And so he's going to, with how well she has healed and how well she's done, he's going to try something pretty experimental. And I think it has a 50-50 shot. And if it works, she won't have to do the, So I said,
sounds pretty awesome.
I was like, I wanted you to call her. I said, don't get on her Instagram, just call her.
Yeah, she was super excited. So Cam is somebody that's your best friend. She's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
She's been through some dust-ups with us.
Yes.
She would definitely know.
Not with us. She was our mediator.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, we've talked to her about our dust-ups. Not that she didn't get to witness it. She just got to talk about it.
I just meant she wasn't a third party.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
That's what it sounded like.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean it that way. No,
She's been in a dust-up with us.
No, she didn't. We weren't mad at her.
No, never.
So we've been through that a lot, and we've talked about it a lot on this podcast, and about us blending our family, trying to figure out who we are and who we are with each other, and it's been a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
From the start of our marriage, and for sure through the podcast, and we've talked about it a lot. But here of late, we felt a huge shift and a change.
I think everyone that's listening probably knows the shift we're talking about, and it's just coming out of the fog of what was the past 2 years of our life, and you really had to figure out what you were made of. And it coincided with, with us, we had been in a pretty bad cycle for the entirety of our marriage. It's something that began while we were dating. And our cycle is one that occurs every single month. And each month, like clockwork, here it would come. And, most of you would say, well, if you're only fighting once a month, what's the big deal? Like, that's pretty good odds. No, no. This one is like, let's burn this mama to the ground. It wasn't
That
just
didn't count the little dust up, just
like
the
we
one big one,
said,
yeah.
like we say dust up, that's just to be silly. I mean, you need to, someone should probably call the cops, but we don't have neighbors, so neighbors aren't there to call the cops. But of course, I'm joking, but in my heart, we were taking a blow
Yeah.
every single month that was undoing anything that had been done the rest of the month.
Yeah.
And Jay and I are very competitive, so just the genuine fact that we couldn't beat it was one of the hugest parts.
Yeah.
We just nothing we were trying would work, and
Yeah, we would do great right up to the point of it happening, and
Yes.
all the planning
yeah,
went out the window.
the level of frustration that we just simply couldn't step out of the cycle was just as bad as the fights themselves.
And what's crazy is a lot of times you could see them coming from a mile away,
yeah.
and then the next time, though, it might just, out of the blue, you never knew
Yeah.
what really was going to trigger it.
Right. So we both have been working with therapists that are in the same office. Their offices share a wall with each other. And I was working with my therapist, and then I was going in with another therapist with Jay. Essentially, I was getting kind of a twofer each week. And finally, we just discussed. I got kicked out, and and so Jay meets with our old marriage counselor. Now Jay has him alone, and then I have mine. And boy, do we owe them a beach house on the finest beach, huh?
For sure.
God, they're brilliant.
It's been a huge learning experience.
Yeah.
For me, I had been to a counselor before, but it was nothing on the level
Well, your guy is
of
brilliant.
what I'm getting now, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and I miss him so much because he and I are a lot more similar than I am with my therapist. But that was not very good for our session because he and I would just kind of leave you in a fog.
Yeah,
You
y'all
know.
are a lot smarter than I am on that stuff,
No,
for sure.
not smarter, just
Smarter.
Our minds just work one way
Right.
and yours works a different way. And so he and I could just kind of run with it and look over, and Jay's eyes are crossing. And that's not helpful for Jay whatsoever
Yeah.
or our marriage. So I'm really glad that someone stood up and said, let's change this up a little bit.
So we break this 5-year cycle. And so where do you, from your point of view, what do you think the therapist did, or what do you think key part of that was?
I want to say, I don't know for sure, but I just want to say that working with the two of them increased our emotional intelligence just enough, both of ours, just enough that we could kind of peer over and see something newer. You know, we say sit in a different seat. We were seeing things from a little bit different of an angle, and the maturity we were lacking, because essentially, you know, we always say drop the rope. Essentially, each month we were just getting into this horrific tug of war and burning this thing to the ground.
Well,
you know?
I think we would drop the rope until the point that we got really upset,
Yeah.
and then we would pick it back up. I mean, we would always do good on the front end a lot of times.
Yeah, you could see the growth on
Yeah.
the front end,
But we just couldn't
which almost made it worse.
couldn't sustain.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Like, I don't know
That's
if
as funny
anyone
as
else.
that, yeah.
I don't know if anyone else will
Yeah.
see it. I don't know if anyone else will know what we're even talking about. But the growth on the front end would make the boom fallen harder on the end. You know, because we had it, and then we didn't.
It's just like everything that we've talked about on this podcast. You think you
Yeah.
figured kids out. You think
Oh,
you
yeah.
figured marriage out. You think
Yes.
you've figured out blending a family. You think you figured out these dust ups, but
Until you get to a different level.
yeah.
And then you look back and you're like, I didn't know anything.
And so we jokingly the other day asked what do we think we have figured out now
Yeah,
that
that
we
we
don't,
don't. And
and what the
it's
next level look like.
and it's taught us to speak differently. Because right then, the old me of last year would have said, we didn't know anything till now, and now I know not to say that. I
Yeah.
know not to, we kind of joke also that we'd like to single-handedly erase all. We'd like to just erase all of 40 episodes.
And we've said that on here a lot too, but
Have we?
now it means even more.
Which button does
Yeah.
it? Which is just a vulnerability hangover and kind of a. I think we've both just felt like we've said things on here thinking that it would help, or I don't know. And then we just realized we didn't know what we were talking about for nothing.
Well, I think a lot of it we maybe knew what we were talking about somewhat for that situation where it
Yes.
was then, but
Yeah.
the situation it wasn't correct, and
Well,
it's changed.
And I know I'm not silly enough to ever pretend like we were trying to teach y'all anything, but I did think that we were trying to pass stuff along, and who knows if any of that helped. Everybody would say it helped. Everyone's been so sweet. Because when people are like, "Where are you?" We're like, "We're in a little bit of a hangover." And we're sorry.
Yeah.
So, and we just want to stay grounded and just say, these are our experiences. And if we've ever come across as knowing better than anyone else, that's just not, that was never my intention ever.
No, and I think a big deal for us too, through a lot of it, we fell into a pretty bad habit, or it was the bad habit to
Yeah.
sweep under the rug whatever was
Yeah.
going. We'd kind of get over it, kick it to the side, and we'd go on, make it till the next time around. And that's probably been the hardest part of breaking what
Do you
we've
think
gone through.
that's what I brought to the marriage or what you brought to the marriage?
I would say it was a big part of that.
Because I was not raised like that.
No. No, Jess is definitely. Oh, there it is. Let's grab it by the head and wrestle it to the ground and talk about it until we get it solved or not
Yeah.
get solved, and then we'll talk about it a little bit
And
more.
Jay was raised, let's just get by it and let's only talk about the things that are good,
Yep.
and let's not discuss anything that may cause conflict. So we will figure out a middle ground.
I think we've definitely improved on that somewhat.
Yeah, for sure.
But earlier you mentioned about the emotional and mental education or whatever you
Yeah,
want to
emotional intelligence.
intelligence, and I think that's been a huge part of it to
Yeah,
be able to recognize certain pieces of it and how it affects us and how maybe to respond to it
yeah,
in a better way.
yeah. Which I told Cam the other day, there have been dozens of moments in the past month where my mind says, he's got a good therapist. I just could see it in little things that you were doing or saying or how you were reacting, and I'm really thankful that you're doing that, because I know you don't have time.
Yeah.
I know you don't have time to do that, especially during corn plant and bean plant. You didn't miss a session with him, and for you to see the value in it and not act as though like I'm dragging you to do it or guilting you to do it. It's everything you do is always your decision, and that makes things so much easier on me.
Well, you mentioned freedom a lot, and it in talking about this, and it is an amount of freedom as an individual. It's a freedom as a parent. It's a freedom as a spouse to figure out how to deal with some of that, or just honestly just to figure out really what's causing it, just from the perspective you gain from looking at it from another point of view, not even necessarily yours, but just somebody outside looking in, and really being able to understand that. For
Yeah.
me anyway.
Yeah. You have a really good therapist.
Yeah, he's good. He really is. So we've maybe broken, shattered a 5-year cycle
Once, and I don't even care if
once.
I don't care if it. I'm
We're
not
considering that we
kidding.
knocked it out of the park.
I could care less if it ever happens again. I don't even care if we go into another 5-year cycle. I'm celebrating the fire out of that shatter. I'm doing it.
Yeah. But I think the freedom of that
Yeah,
is gonna elevate us to be able to keep that up. But
I do.
it's still gonna take a huge amount of work, and we know that
Yeah.
it's still gonna happen. But it is a lot easier to maybe turn the other cheek a little bit.
I
What do you
think
think?
just from experiencing, yeah, the rest, the rest from the exhaustion
Yeah.
is something I want to feel that again and
Yeah.
again and again. And I describe it as for 5 years, every month we got to a fork in the road and we wanted to go left so bad. And for every month for 5 years, we just went right over and over and over. And God was saying, go left. And Jay was saying, dear Lord, please let's go left. And even I was saying, we should go left. And our emotions were just dragging us
Yeah.
right because of the cycle. There, these cycles that you get in your relationship are so hard. Just like eating cycles or drinking cycles or addictions or abusing those substances. I mean, there's just these habits that you create, and we created really unhealthy habits because we started our relationship in very depleted, like you say, emotional intelligence. We fell in love with zero emotional intelligence
Yeah.
because we had both just gone through the toughest season of our life. And I feel like I was a shell of an individual. I think you rolled the dice on a shell of an individual and ended up with who I am today. And I'm so thankful that you didn't lose on that one. But like I said, we just kept going right every month. We just kept turning right. And this one time, there was this little moment, and I was so mad. And I'm like, he should know better than to do this. He's going to bring us right. I know he is. He's bringing us right, and we're going to do it again. And we just sat there. We were on the phone. You were in your truck. You told me later that you were taking notes about what I was saying. I wish you would have said then. It probably would have kicked us left. But we just sat there, and there was this one moment where I was like, we're going to go right. And something just said, just lay it down. Just lay it down, surrender it, and just for the love of the Lord, try something different. And I did. I wanted to answer you one way, and the opposite words came out of my mouth, and you could just feel us go left. And an hour and a half later, we were an hour and a half down that path that we had never
Yeah.
gone down before.
Yeah. The by far the best conversation
Oh,
we've
you're
ever
so
had
sweet,
based
baby.
around that for sure.
It was nice. It was so sexy and nice and just, there was a situation after we lost the baby last summer where Ash drove in from Gore, and she got in my bed and she's just said, tell me everything. Tell me every word in your head. And I just poured out the whole contents of my heart. And when I was done, she said, more. And then I'd get done, she'd say, what else? And she did it for like 3 hours. And there was something just so therapeutic of all of it. Her listening, her wanting to listen more, her genuinely caring about what I was saying, the fact that she'd driven 3 hours. I mean, all of it wrapped up in a tight bow was just something so thoughtful and it was free. You know, I mean, these things that we can do for each other are free. And that's what you essentially did that day. I would get done talking and you would say, "What else? Tell me more. What else? Tell me more. What else?" And we just talked and talked, and you didn't try to fight what I was saying or say that what I was saying was wrong. You didn't refute any of it. You just listened. You didn't try to fix it. It was really exactly what I needed.
Well, and for me, in explaining the note taking part, it's just like when we were together with a therapist. I mean, it's so much information. Just trying to remember every part of it, especially when you maybe don't completely understand it right at the
Yeah.
time. And that's why I chose to write it down so I could
Hmm.
go back and read it and try to understand it and remember it. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's really hard for me to take in all that information and retain it
I
at the
think
time during a fight like that.
I think that's very normal because you're just thinking of your next hit. You know, you're just thinking of, you're trying to take in everything that was said and you're trying to think of something really great to say to win. You and I are just trying to win. And so we're not active listening. And you and I don't have the best memories, anyways. And there's a lot of times where the harder I try to pull something up to describe it to you, the murkier it gets. It's like I'm trying to grasp like murky water. It just goes. I don't know why it's like that. And so the whole pen to paper, why didn't we think of it earlier? I don't know why we didn't think of it earlier, but I always have stickies or a notepad around, or always have something by me. And so to take notes while you and I are talking would be so easy for me. And just to any of those of you that are listening, especially husbands, I can't express to you how I felt when I found out my husband was taking notes of what I was saying. It just it competed with anything you would want to do to try to woo me. It was really something.
Thank you, baby.
You're welcome. But I would really like to pass that along. I want you to pass that along to them. It wasn't my idea. It wasn't something I do, but I did, but I want to tell them about it.
Well, it was definitely a game changer for us. If we can,
Yeah.
we just got to stay on the correct path for sure.
Yeah, like I said, there's no pressure. If we don't, we'll be fine. We know how to do it now. We might not have a perfect average, but
Yep.
so
Well, and that brings me to another thought I had. I mean, we're talking about our relationship and how we thought maybe 5 years ago we were getting it right, and
yeah.
how we thought we were better at 4 and better at
Oh,
3, and
yeah.
where's it going? And that's the same in blending our family. I mean,
Yeah.
it is just laughable for what we
Yeah.
thought we knew or what we even thought was going on
Right.
5 years ago versus where we're at now, and
Mm-hmm.
just so much has continued to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess maybe talking about that and just putting out there
Mm.
the hope that's coming
Yeah.
down the line, and the way things have changed and the way things come full circle.
Yeah, I know when we first got married, our buddy Neil said that it takes 6 years to blend a family. And I was like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
I
we
don't.
got this done 6 months. What you
Yeah,
worried about?
six. That's what I told him. I said, 6 years, give me 6 months and I'll have it.
Yeah.
Like I told you guys, know, we're just very competitive and we like to break records. And so, yeah, he told us 6 years, and he couldn't have been more right. And he didn't pull that number out of his bottom. He had been researching it, and he was wanting to write a book on blended families, and that was one of the statistics he had come across. And here we are going into our 6th year, and there have been things happening just in the past month that have been mind blowing to us. And so that's what I want to say to other blended families. If you're in your brand new or year 2 or 3 or 4, like, just hold on because really, just hold on. We're living proof that there's conversations that we're having with these kids that we didn't really think we'd have them till they were in their late
Or
20s.
maybe never.
Oh yeah, true, true. There are, because Jay will come in and he'll go, "Did you ever think we'd hear that kid say that?" And I'm like, "No, not
Yeah.
ever. We didn't. We weren't sure." We weren't sure if some of them would even have the capacity to see things clear ever because people just are different.
Yeah.
People are wired differently and their minds work differently. And, sometimes people rewrite history to protect the way they look back on things. And so we just assumed several of the kids would be doing that. And so for our kids to walk up to us and pour out these whole and good and healthy sentences, we just say, "Look at God." Like, look at God. Like,
Yeah.
that's not because of us. It is absolutely not because of us. All of the glory, it goes to the Lord because we didn't even have faith that those sentences would come out of them.
Yeah.
And so just in the past month, that's happened 3 or 4 times, and you're just in awe of the way he has made beauty from ashes in our family.
Yeah.
And
So we didn't have any kind of really big meeting about this podcast, or we talked about it a little bit, not a lot, but we wrote down the only really 2 words we wrote down were freedom and surrender. And so I would want to say that we've definitely surrendered this to the Lord and kind of surrendered to each other. But we've talked about freedom already on here, but when you look back and when you have a breakthrough like we did on our 5-year cycle, and when you have these conversations with these kids and these things happen and you see your family grow, just the freedom and the relief that it gives you, and for me the excitement for what is coming down the road. I know we've still got, there's still going to be rocky times for us. There's still going to be rocky times with the kids, but the freedom to know of the excitement that's coming down the road just from when we did this podcast a year ago, the difference till now to what that looks like another year. I mean, if you
yeah,
can just look down the road and just the weight that lifts off of you, and the relief that, hey, I'm not saying I did everything right with this kid, but I didn't completely screw that kid up. Like, we've
whew,
talked about
yeah,
that many times.
right. Yeah, our pastor says that there's freedom in the surrender. And I feel like we spend our entire years growing up figuring out how to get a tighter grip on things that they're hard lines. Like, I'll follow you, God, but don't say I have to break up with my boyfriend, or I'll follow you, God, I'll follow everything you say as long as you don't say I have to leave my job and move. Or, there's these things that we kind of have a death grip on. And you and I were in our own trenches, and we know what it's like to each feel like it was all stripped away. And so we're thankful for the little that we got back,
No.
And so then when you pass the little and you get to a lot, and then you pass a lot and you get to this is out of control.
Yeah.
This is these blessings only come from you, and we thought you only gave them to good people. And so then when you are gaining that freedom from surrendering all of those things that you had those grips on, and I think that comes with age. I do. I think it comes with even just physical maturing in your age, and not placing the values on things that you used to with your younger mind, but also just the growth that we had as we walked through those fires, each of those little fires, the refinement that we had And just realizing when we meet each new fire, I can either grip onto this as tight as I can, or I can just let it go and let God do what He's proven to me over and over that He will do with it.
Right.
And so it's like we've grown, like you said, that emotional intelligence, but we've also grown the trust in the Lord. And He just shows Himself to us over and over. And I think that practice of trusting Him, it gets easier because we use history.
Yeah.
I think it's a practice like anything else.
Yeah, your mind was headed down the exact same road that mine was headed, not in as eloquent of terms, but just like we've talked about on here a lot, in disciplining kids and the things we disagreed on and the way we would tug of war just over that part of it, the freedom that gives to once we got past that and just let it be what it was, it ultimately all worked its way out. You still have your little things. Some days it gets you, but
Yeah.
for the most part, that is worked it out. And
Yeah.
I think that's one thing you have excelled at in our marriage is being a big enough person to say that, not, now on the podcast, but even in person in that moment to back up 30 minutes later and say, hey, I was looking at that, I'm looking at that wrong. You just, do what you need to do. And I think that's an important thing to say is that to people that's one thing that really has, for us has given us more freedom than anything is just letting that stuff play out how it is and letting it work itself out over time.
Thanks, babe, for saying that. I know we ran into something with one of the kids, and I just immediately knew that if I tried to insert myself into the equation, that you weren't going to be able to be the kind of dad you wanted to be. And as I'm hearing myself say this, I know we've said this on the podcast before that, if you go to discipline one of the kids and then I come at your other side and I'm saying, you better discipline them, now you're not disciplining them anymore just because you're mad at me for trying to interfere. And so you've turned your attention to me and now we're in a tug of war and the kids are not learning what they need to learn. And so there was an occurrence just in the past month where I was like, everything that I want to accomplish by telling you what I want to accomplish, which would be how I would want you to react in that situation, can all be done by me simply just keeping myself out of it. It wasn't even my place, you didn't need my help. And just that I just surrendered it. He doesn't need a phone call. You were texting me nonstop what was going on. And I was listening to you and I was just kind of sending back kind of neutral text so that you didn't read into anything because I was pretty heated up also. And so it was just a lot of fun for me to just completely stay out of it and watch you do what you needed to do. I think that is really funny that in a relationship, the best way we can support each other is just backing up and giving each other enough space to be who we need to be.
Yeah.
Like, give me, back up, give me some room.
I think some of that's born out of just, wanting me to protect you or me. It upsets me that if a kid says something a certain way to you, when it's up to me, to respond if they act really out of bounds. Mm-hmm. But just the simple stuff, letting that upset you. I can look back now and just see that.
We both did.
Yeah, and you're just like, that is so dumb.
That is so, and it delayed our bonding.
Yeah,
with our children.
Yep.
And you can see the damage that it created by us. Because essentially our kids just want to know that what they see and what they hear is what we genuinely feel. our kids even watch us like little bloodhounds. There were times where I was pretending to stay out of it, but I wasn't staying out of it. And you don't think they knew? They knew the entire
Yeah.
time. And so they were seeing, your kids were seeing me act two totally different ways, and which could they trust? So if I'm going to stay out of it in front of them and pretend like you're going to do it alone, then I have to, behind closed doors, mimic that entirely.
Yeah.
And that takes a level of maturity I haven't had for maybe 5 minutes, And but that was something that was just really important to me is I wanted to match up who I am in front of their face to who I am. We've said it on the podcast, to who I am in our bathroom.
Yeah, and what a huge freedom and a huge relationship grower that is. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
it's been awesome with the kids, that
Yeah.
piece of it. And I mean, that's something I don't think we really realized up till
Yeah.
really recent, just how much that was.
Well, and using those little triggers for growth, if I'm mad that you go to one of their games over going to dinner with me, that's a problem. That
Yeah.
is a problem that you need to put pen to paper and ask yourself, why would you not want your own husband to go to his child's game? I'm not coming down on any of y'all. I'm saying it was happening in my life. So I know it has to be happening in some of y'all's, and I hear some of my girlfriends talk about it. And if there are times that your spouse is being a really good dad or being a really good mom and that makes you mad, that's something you have to look inward and say, what have I allowed into my heart and my mind that needs to be weeded out? Because those are not healthy emotions.
Yeah, and if you can get past that, the dividends
So
paid are
much,
uncountable. It's
right?
just unbelievable.
Right? And
Yeah.
there's always that kid,
Yeah.
I have a kid that gets Jay easier than the others. Jay has a kid that gets me. And that's where you need to start. Start
Yeah.
with that kid and start weeding out the things that easily get to you. And then, just like I said, try to get to a point where the face that you show right in front of them is the face that is who's talking.
Yeah. And the recognition of that
Yeah.
has gotten so much easier with
Yeah.
time, and it just always makes me wonder what else are we not recognizing that a year
Sure.
from now, will be easy to recognize.
Well, and you know what the game changer is on all of it? Prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer. I mean, just if you're having a hard time with a kid or with your spouse's ex, just violently start praying for them. And it will change your everything. We're all trying to ask each other, what should we do? They do this, and this kid does this, and what should I do about it? And it's like, you think that you have control, you have zero control.
Yep.
And there's so much frustration that comes with thinking you're going to figure out a way to control it. You're not. You just need to give up. You're not going to control it. You're not going to change it anytime soon. But what you can absolutely change and control is your own heart. And that's going to come with that prayer and that growth and that therapy. And there's rest in it. There's so much rest from, I have it written on your bathroom wall, is when you finally surrender that relationship that is absolutely exhausting, the rest that you can feel when you just lay it down and say, God, I hate this relationship. Like, please take it and make it your own, because I obviously don't know how to mold it and make it the way you do. And so I'm just going to sit back and watch you.
Well, just the high from it too is a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it is a really really good feeling to you don't always recognize it right there in that moment, but
Yeah.
when it all comes to fruition, comes to
Right.
pass, it is a really really big high.
Well, and just knowing that those triggers, the heart racing and the shoulders up and the eyebrows up and the heart pounding and all of those physical things that just start screaming as soon as you get triggered, those are not a way for you to be able to tell that you're right. Those are a way for you to be able to tell that you've got some work to do. And then if you do take it all to your therapist and you do take it all to the Lord and you do put pen to paper and you realize you are right, something needs to change, then go for it. But usually you're going to figure out that that's something that hasn't been made whole within you, for that to be hitting you
Yeah, and
just
it's not
so.
always fun to recognize either.
No, and it's so just easy and natural to blame it on someone, and you're 100 times out of 100 going to be able to find someone to blame it on, and you're going to be able to find someone to back you up. I mean, you have that person that you can call and say, listen to what they did. And then you're going to get you don't deserve that. And none of that is healthy. None of that is onward and upward. That stuff right there, where you need someone to validate the parts of you that need work, that's just going to keep you stuck down in the mud. And we're grown.
Well, and that's where a therapist comes in too,
Yeah.
because they're not going to validate.
No.
They're going to tell you the other side of it.
Or
and
ask you questions. How is that working?
Yeah.
And when have you ever, I've got some friends now, my huddle girls will say, how's that working? But they will take their turns saying, death to the person.
Yeah.
But not our therapist. Our therapist is never going to say, you deserve better. How dare they? They just are not, they're not going to give that to y'all. And so that's why alone, just that one fact alone, makes them worth their weight in gold, huh?
It does that for sure. So, babe, back recording today, and any final thoughts of the direction that we've gone as a family, as a couple, or as a podcast?
Trying not to get too big for our britches and trying to stay as centered and authentic as possible so that the words we say don't trip others up or ourselves up. I don't ever want to get down this path where I'm believing something that is not the Lord's truth.
No.
And always using this space to speak truth and life into our friends, and not ever wanting to come across as like we think we're better than anybody or know more than anyone. Just wanting to stay as somebody that takes his words and what he's told to us and turn and scream them out to everybody else.
And I would just say that something that you've worked for that is rewarding is something that just keeps on giving. It doesn't stop. It just keeps getting better and better.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Babe, so what else you got?
I think that is all. You're about to take me out, huh?
I am going to do that.
And he worked out this morning very early.
Yep.
And they did not ease into it whatsoever. So I've got a few more hours with you while you can move.
Yep. Before I pass out and go to sleep, if you get me out of this chair.
But yeah, we live close to a town called McKinney, Texas. And historical downtown McKinney is where my heart sets ablaze. So we're going to go spend the night down there and have a little date.
Well, babe, as the song says, the road goes on forever and the party never ends.
I love you.
And I love you too.